life is far more than just making ends meet, paying bills, or chasing after short-lived pleasures. Beneath the routine of daily survival lies a quiet yearning, a desire to reach beyond the familiar, to chase dreams that seem distant and almost unattainable. These dreams whisper of adventure, creativity, and a deeper meaning that transcends the ordinary. Yet, for many, the comfort of stability holds them back. The fear of losing financial security, the weight of responsibilities, and the uncertainty of the unknown keep countless souls rooted in place. They tell themselves it's safer to stay, to continue walking the well-worn path. But somewhere among us, there are those rare individuals who find the courage to pause, to listen carefully to the faint voice within. They choose to risk comfort for the chance to live authentically, to follow the dreams that stir their hearts, even if the journey ahead is uncertain, even if success is not guaranteed. In that bold choice lies the true poetry of life. Somerset Maugham's The Moon and Sixpence delves into the timeless conflict between practicality and passion, between what society expects and what the soul truly desires. At the heart of the novel is Charles Strickland, a man who seemingly had it all: a steady career, a loving family, and the admiration of those around him. Yet, beneath this surface of stability, a powerful yearning stirred within him. One day, without warning or apology, he abandoned everything familiar: his home, his responsibilities, even those who loved him, to chase an elusive dream, to become an artist. His bold decision defied logic and shattered societal norms, but it was the only path that could lead him to true fulfillment. Strickland's story challenges us to reflect on our own lives. Are we living for approval or for meaning? If you enjoy exploring profound stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to Audiobook Bites, where we bring the world's most thought-provoking books right to you. Strickland was, by all outward appearances, a man who had achieved what many only dream of. As a successful stockbroker in London, he earned a comfortable income, owned a beautiful home in a respectable neighborhood, and provided a secure and stable life for his wife and their 2 children. In social circles, he was regarded as a responsible, respectable gentleman, steady, predictable, and well-established. Friends and acquaintances admired him, seeing in his life the very definition of success: financial stability, a happy family, and a solid reputation. But beneath this polished surface, something entirely different was brewing. Strickland was growing restless, trapped in a life built not upon passion or personal fulfillment, but on obligation and convention. The routine of daily existence, the endless polite conversations, the expectations placed upon him by society, all of it slowly suffocated him. For years, this internal tension remained hidden. To the outside world, Strickland appeared composed, but within him was a quiet, gnawing dissatisfaction that grew stronger with time. Then, one day, without warning or explanation, Strickland made a decision that shocked everyone around him. He left a simple, brief note for his wife: "I will not be returning. Do not search for me." No long conversation, no attempt at justification, only these few words. And with that, he disappeared from his family's life entirely. At 40 years old, a time when most men are deeply rooted in their careers, building toward retirement, ensuring their children's futures, Strickland walked away from it all. He left behind his home, his wealth, his marriage, and every thread of the life he had carefully constructed. His destination? Paris, the city of art, of creativity, of countless dreamers who come seeking something greater than ordinary existence. But Strickland's decision was not met with understanding. To many, it seemed cold, even heartless. How could a man so easily abandon his wife and children? How could he throw away the stability he had worked for, especially when he had no formal training in art, no record of artistic success, and seemingly no clear plan? His act was seen as reckless, selfish, even delusional. Friends were scandalized. His wife was devastated. Yet, for Strickland, the logic was simple. For years, he had suppressed a deep, irresistible urge to paint, not for fame, not for money, but simply because he felt compelled to create. Art was not a hobby or an interest to him. It was a calling, an obsession that could no longer be ignored. The safe, respectable life he had led felt meaningless compared to the pull of this passion. To remain would have been, for him, a slow death of the spirit. In Paris, he lived in near poverty, struggling to survive, teaching himself to paint through endless trial and error. He cared nothing for comfort or social acceptance. His only concern was the canvas, the brush, and the relentless pursuit of expressing something authentic and true. Slowly, painfully, he began to develop a style uniquely his own, raw, unconventional, and powerful. Though others dismissed him as eccentric, even mad, Strickland was finally free. He had traded everything for this freedom, and he had no regrets. His story is uncomfortable because it forces us to confront difficult questions about our own lives. How much of what we do is driven by genuine passion? How much is merely the result of habit, obligation, or fear? Few of us would dare to make the choice Strickland did. His path was lonely, uncertain, and harsh, but undeniably honest. In abandoning everything for his art, he lived not for approval, but for purpose. Madness or awakening? Strickland's decision stunned everyone who knew him. For most, it was unthinkable. A man who had secured everything society deems important: wealth, family, status, throwing it all away in favor of an uncertain, solitary pursuit. They whispered behind his back, calling him irresponsible, selfish, even insane. Friends shook their heads, unable to comprehend how a man in midlife could abandon stability to chase what seemed like a childish fantasy. At 40, they said, a man should know better than to risk everything for art. But for Strickland, their judgments meant nothing. He was not motivated by logic, nor swayed by public opinion. His desire to paint was not a whim, it was an irresistible force that had grown stronger with each passing year of suppression. He didn't see it as a choice at all. "I must paint," he said simply. "I cannot do otherwise." This obsession was not about fame or financial gain. Strickland cared little if his work was appreciated or even seen. He painted not for an audience, but for himself, or perhaps for something even beyond himself. It was as if his very soul demanded expression, and to deny it any longer would be a kind of slow, suffocating death. There is a powerful metaphor in his story, one that captures the essence of his inner struggle. Picture a man flailing in deep water, gasping for air. In that desperate moment, his swimming skills, age, or preparation mean little. His options are simple and absolute: struggle to breathe or drown. For Strickland, painting was his breath. Without it, he was sinking beneath the weight of a life that no longer held meaning. His sudden departure from family and career was not a calculated risk. It was a desperate act of spiritual self-preservation. The world saw recklessness. He experienced liberation. The comforts of his former life, once so prized, had become chains. Every day spent in that carefully constructed existence only deepened his sense of suffocation. Painting, however, offered release, a way to breathe freely, to reclaim his sense of being truly alive. This stark contrast between societal norms and individual passion challenges us deeply. How often do we bury our own longings beneath layers of responsibility, fear, and conformity? How many live quietly miserable lives because they're too afraid to upset the balance? Strickland's actions, while extreme, force us to confront uncomfortable questions. What price are we willing to pay to follow our calling? Is comfort worth sacrificing the deepest parts of ourselves? To many, Strickland appeared heartless for leaving his family behind. But from his perspective, staying would have meant living a lie, not only to himself, but to those around him. True love, he might argue, cannot flourish when one lives in quiet desperation. His pursuit of art was not an act of cruelty, but of necessity. A brutal honesty few dare to embrace. In Paris, stripped of all status and security, Strickland finally lived as he had longed to, fully immersed in his art, indifferent to praise or criticism. His work was raw, primal, and deeply personal. Most dismissed it at first. It did not fit the conventional tastes of the time. Yet those who looked closer saw something unique, a glimpse into a man who had dared to strip away all pretense and expose the raw essence of his being. In the end, Strickland's story is not simply one of madness or awakening. It is both, depending on who tells it. To the world, he was a fool. To himself, he was finally alive. His journey reminds us that the line between insanity and self-discovery is often drawn not by truth, but by fear. And while few would have the courage to follow his path, his story lingers as a haunting question. What would you sacrifice to truly live? The prison of perception. In modern society, success is often measured by a narrow set of standards: wealth, professional achievement, social standing, and external approval. From a young age, people are taught to pursue these goals as if they were universal truths. The steady job, the respectable marriage, the growing bank account, these become the yardsticks by which one's worth is calculated. And so, countless individuals spend their precious years chasing these markers, even when the pursuit leaves them feeling hollow and unfulfilled. Trapped in roles they did not consciously choose, they conform to expectations set by family, peers, and culture, becoming prisoners of a life dictated by others. Strickland shattered this invisible cage. Unlike most, he confronted the question many fear to ask: what do I truly want? It is a simple question on the surface, yet beneath it lies terrifying complexity. Answering it honestly requires facing the uncomfortable possibility that everything one has built, the career, the relationships, the entire life structure, might not reflect one's deepest desires. Most avoid this confrontation, preferring the safety of convention over the vulnerability of self-exploration. But Strickland possessed a rare courage. He chose not to live a life dictated by societal norms, but to follow the raw pull of his inner calling. The consequences were severe. He sacrificed financial stability, severed family ties, and endured social condemnation. Yet, in doing so, he stepped into an existence that was entirely his own. As Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Strickland seized that privilege, regardless of the cost. The Moon and Sixpence presents this conflict through its powerful symbolism. The moon represents the realm of dreams, ideals, and inner truth, the longing that stirs quietly within the human soul. It is distant, luminous, and seemingly out of reach. The sixpence, by contrast, symbolizes the tangible rewards of worldly life: money, comfort, security, and social validation. For most people, the sixpence feels more practical, more attainable. And so, with eyes cast downward, they collect their small coins one by one, hoping to build a stable foundation. Few ever dare to lift their gaze toward the moon. The thought of abandoning immediate comforts for an uncertain dream feels reckless. What if they fail? What if they lose everything? The sixpence offers security. The moon demands faith. Strickland's story forces us to confront this uncomfortable dichotomy. Most of us are taught that contentment lies in accumulating sixpences, that a steady job, a reliable income, and a socially approved lifestyle will bring lasting fulfillment. Yet even as we gather these tokens, a quiet voice often whispers that something vital is missing. The voice speaks of forgotten passions, creative urges, unexplored paths, the moonlight calling in the distance. Strickland heard that voice and chose to follow it. His journey was not romantic or easy. It was lonely, painful, and full of uncertainty. He faced poverty, alienation, and ridicule. But in pursuing his art, he found a sense of freedom that transcended material laws. He was no longer bound by society's definitions of success. He was free to live by his own. In truth, Strickland's story is not about rejecting all comfort for the sake of rebellion. It is about the courage to seek authenticity, to live in alignment with one's inner truth rather than external expectations. Few possess such bravery. For most, the risk feels too great, the unknown too terrifying. And so, they remain in the prison of perception, trading their dreams for security. But Strickland shows us that beyond that prison lies a different kind of life, one not measured by conventional success, but by the fullness of one's being. The question remains, are we willing to look up at the moon, or will we spend our lives searching the ground for sixpences? A tale of two perspectives. The story of the Moon and Sixpence is not simply about one man's escape from convention. It's also about the contrasting responses to life's harsh twists. Strickland's wife, left behind in the wake of his sudden departure, offers a powerful counterpoint to his radical quest for freedom. For her, the experience was devastating. Strickland had not only abandoned her emotionally, but had also stripped her of her social standing, financial security, and family stability. In a society that valued marriage, appearances, and respectability, she was humiliated and left to fend for herself, in a world that could be merciless to a woman alone. But instead of surrendering to despair, she demonstrated extraordinary resilience. Where Strickland fled into art, she dove into practicality. She learned new skills, secured employment, sold their home, and rebuilt her life piece by piece. Her determination transformed what could have been a tragic fall into a powerful rise. In time, her efforts bore fruit. Her children grew into accomplished, respectable adults. Her career flourished, and she once again found her place among society's respected circles. For Strickland's wife, success was not measured by the reckless pursuit of artistic expression, but by dignity, respect, and independence. To depend on anyone, even a husband, felt like defeat. Her path was one of self-reliance. Stability, reputation, and strength became her ultimate values. In her eyes, fulfillment meant regaining control over her life, proving to society and to herself that she was unbreakable. Thus, Strickland and his wife embody two fundamentally different worldviews. One sees life's highest purpose in the relentless pursuit of personal calling, no matter the cost. The other finds fulfillment in resilience, security, and the capacity to thrive within society's structure. Neither is inherently right or wrong. They simply represent different ways of answering life's central question. What does it mean to live a meaningful life? No right or wrong. Only your truth. It's easy to judge Strickland or his wife through the lens of our own values. Some will view Strickland as selfish and cold, while others will admire his unwavering commitment to his passion. Some will see his wife as strong and admirable, while others might consider her too concerned with appearances and social approval. But as philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer insightfully noted, the greatest prison people live in is the fear of what other people think. Much of the suffering people endure comes not from external circumstances, but from the internalized pressure to conform to society's expectations. Ultimately, it is not about whose path is superior. It's about whose path reflects their own truth. Some people crave stability, belonging, and external recognition. Others feel suffocated without the freedom to chase their dreams. Both desires are valid. What matters is whether the life you choose aligns with your deepest values, allowing you to live without regret or self-betrayal. If your heart is at peace with your decisions, whether you chase the moon or gather sixpences, your life is rich. The friend who understood. In this intricate tale, Maugham introduces another vital character, Dirk Stroeve. Unlike Strickland's wife, Stroeve was not a man of societal ambition, nor was he a great artist. He was clumsy, awkward, and often the subject of quiet mockery. Yet, he possessed something rare and beautiful, the ability to recognize true talent in others. While most dismissed Strickland's crude paintings, Stroeve saw something raw and authentic beneath the rough surfaces. He admired Strickland's uncompromising vision, even as others called it madness. His admiration went beyond professional envy. It was pure reverence for a man who dared to create without compromise. Stroeve's kindness became most evident when Strickland fell gravely ill. While others would have turned their backs, Stroeve took him into his own home, cared for him, and tended to his needs with genuine compassion. He sacrificed not only his time and resources, but also risked the stability of his own marriage. In a tragic twist, this act of kindness led to unforeseen heartbreak. As Strickland recovered, a forbidden attraction grew between him and Stroeve's wife. Eventually, she left Stroeve to be with Strickland, further devastating the man who had once saved Strickland's life. And yet, even in his grief, Stroeve displayed remarkable grace. Rather than lash out, he stepped aside, hoping his wife might find happiness with Strickland. But Strickland, true to his nature, soon discarded her as well. To him, human relationships were secondary, perhaps even irrelevant, compared to the force driving his art. Love, friendship, and loyalty were luxuries he was unwilling to sustain if they distracted him from his creative mission. The essence of the story. At its core, The Moon and Sixpence is not simply a story about art, love, or betrayal. It's a profound meditation on freedom, the raw, often brutal freedom to choose one's own path, even when that path conflicts with morality, convention, or logic. Maugham's tale forces readers to confront haunting questions. Are you living for yourself or for the approval of others? Is safety more valuable than meaning? Can you bear the consequences of your deepest desires? The narrator reflects, "You are never given a wish without also being given the power to make it true. You may have to work for it, however." Strickland paid the ultimate price for his wish. He sacrificed everything, family, security, relationships, for his relentless pursuit of creative authenticity. His journey reminds us that true freedom may come at a cost. Few are willing to pay. And yet, for some, that price is worth everything. The Moon versus the Sixpence. The title itself holds the key to understanding the novel's central tension. The moon symbolizes lofty ideals, self-actualization, inner truth, and spiritual fulfillment. It is beautiful, distant, and elusive. The sixpence by contrast, represents the mundane rewards of conventional life: money, stability, comfort, and social respectability. Most people are content gathering sixpences. The sixpence offers immediate security. It makes sense. It keeps life predictable. But every now and then, someone glances upward and catches sight of the moon, a shimmering symbol of the life they truly crave. That glimpse can awaken a longing so powerful that the safety of the sixpence suddenly feels like a prison. Pursuing the moon requires extraordinary courage. It means surrendering certainty for possibility, comfort for risk, and approval for solitude. Few dare to make that trade. The sixpence asks little from you, but offers little in return. The moon asks for everything, but promises something rare: the chance to live fully, completely, and without compromise. The power of perception. At its deepest level, Maugham's message is about perception. It is not the external circumstances of our lives that define us, but the way we perceive and prioritize what matters most. Our values shape every decision, every sacrifice, and every definition of success or failure. If you value independence and dignity like Strickland's wife, you will tirelessly build your own stronghold. If you value passion and artistic truth like Strickland, you may walk an isolated, brutal path. If you value compassion like Struve, you may suffer heartbreak, but find meaning in selfless kindness. Each choice comes with its own price. There is no absolute right or wrong, only your truth. And the rarest freedom is the ability to live that truth without fear, shame, or regret. The real prison. In the end, the greatest prison is not our job, our family, or our financial situation. The true prison is how we perceive these things. It is the silent pressure to conform, the fear of being judged, the terror of failure. The Moon and Sixpence challenges us to confront this prison and to ask ourselves, are we prisoners of perception? Or do we have the courage to live fully aligned with our deepest selves? Strickland, his wife, and Struve each represent different answers to this question. Their paths diverge, yet each embodies a version of freedom. The lesson is not to imitate any one of them, but to discover our own version of the truth, and to have the courage to live it.